Welcome to Mystic Brew. It's been a little bit of a hiatus. I guess it's been since Samhain or Halloween. Oh man, my hair's a mess. I'm all fluffy from a shower. Anyway, so it's been like 2 weeks. I'd like to thank the new subscribers. I've had actually in the 2 weeks I lost a few, and I guess inactivity will do that. But I've gained a few, so hopefully they will like what we're going to do. So, the title of this video will be Can't You Hear Me, Gnostic? Yes, it's a play on a Rolling Stones song. And it's a live stream I'm going to start doing this coming up Monday. The Monday that's coming up, I guess I can almost look down and see what that date is. It's just 27th of November. I'll do it at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And it's about having a dialogue about narratives. I kind of had said, oh my God, some months ago that I really wanted to address the narrative, and even that as a subject. And speaking about it would have been lengthy, and I think it is a lengthy conversation, but some a talk I'd like to continue, and really kind of challenge things. Okay, I got some things written down here. I have to put on my glasses. And one of the narratives that I'd like to engage, and so obviously, Can't You Hear Me, Gnostic? Part of what I'm doing is one of the narratives on the planet that goes back for a very long time, especially I guess in Europe and the Levant and the Middle East, but more Europe because the Middle East started having its own developments. But anyway, there is a real difference between the word world and the word the earth. The earth is our home. The earth is where nature is. It's where we arose. It's our home. It's, by most people's understanding, a planet. For other people's understanding, a plane. And then you have the world. The world is where you have to show ID. The world is where there are lines drawn on maps that are a lot more than simply recognitions. It's producing a driver's license. It's all that stuff. That's the world. That's not our planet or our earth. That's our world. And the other thing is, like, apparently, almost everybody's heard of the topic Gnostic. I want to be really careful about Gnostic thought and what is called Gnosticism, and I don't want to pick it apart too much because it's a term that John Lash uses a lot, and I consider John Lash holding a really important place on trying to bring back, if not the narrative, a narrative that is, to me, almost the whole package. It's a narrative I've been playing with for years, and noticing the energetic differences, the perception of reality differences. And so anyway, before I get too deep, I think I could kind of maybe just prepare the terrain a little bit here. By the way, it's almost 5:30 in the morning. I'm doing this so I can kind of really feel like I got this ball going, and then I'm going to go to bed shortly thereafter, after whatever it takes me to upload, however long I talk here. So, taking the narrative into the earth and the world not yet manifested. I wrote that to myself about where I'd like to take the narrative, and it's about discussing our home, the earth, as different as opposed to the construct that's been built on the earth, that is the world, and that Well, I guess okay. I still need to do a little more context here before I'm getting ahead of myself. I have a bunch here. So so kind of what I'm playing with "Can't You Hear Me, Gnostic" is a Gnostic place to knock our myths around. Come with one, and and the whole idea is like you have to realize the word Gnostic is actually a pejorative term applied to people when who in the education. Let's take Alexandria in that area of the world, Alexandria, Egypt, which at that time, even though it was an Egyptian city, it was Greek. But it was run by Greeks who were trying very much to be Egyptians. So it's kind of a unique place. I want to get off here. Okay, a place to knock our myths around. So when a lot of some new ideas were arising from some new revelations, and they these people were bringing forth kind of like a new narrative, a new cosmology, a new relation to God and man. And the Gnostics, who had maintained an oral tradition that was now a lot of it was in writing, which is what one of the things that constituted the Library of Alexandria. A big part of the mysteries or the lesser mysteries had a lot to do with crafts. So there would have been a lot of technical information there also. Excuse me. So, but anyway, the reason the Gnostics kind of got called is in many ways because it comes from the Greek gnosis, to know, or to have gnosis. And it's the gnosis of a mystic. Okay, mystic gnosis is a very kind of a personal gnosis, but the mystic kind of stays at it until the world makes sense, where it's not it it has like a code. There's a code to it, and which I have a little thing about open source spirituality here. But the fact is that we live in different myths, and without a myth, we don't really kind of have the space that we create the world that can. And I'm willing to accept the world being holographic. I have no problem with a holographic concept. What seems to come out of a lot of the quantum physics, whether it's who knows whether it's flawed or not, but the observer and how the observer casts a landscape of where they dwell is a big part of myth making. And myth is not a lie. A myth, actually, we in the Western civilization are living in our own myth. For us, we're living in a narrative. But when we look at some of, let's say, Greek myths, the Greek myths were the narratives of the day for the people. They lived in a universe that was peopled the way it's revealed in those myths. Just like when you read the Bible, the various motifs, miracles, the things that go on, they're following a similar structure to convey the narrative that they wish to convey. So the Gnostics, who had a really, really ancient tradition and were really scholars in their own right, were challenging the beliefs, not just based on beliefs, but on the logic. It was bad logic. Some of it was coming across kind of like as a magical system, and the shamans and seers of this planet were engaged in the supernatural for tens of thousands of years and had a lot of corroborated intel on the mapping of that world. And that's why in different traditions, the Norse tradition, in their 9 worlds, that's their kind of mapping, and it worked for them. The shamans would travel that, and it gave them a destination, and it was through defining what was there that kind of data could be gotten. This is hugely important stuff to the way consciousness works, and especially the way one of the more creative and imaginative species, especially hominid species, I think, in the galaxy. I think there's a lot of people who are very technologically and maybe even intellectually advanced, but the imagination of humanity, and I think, and to me, it largely just ties into our positioning of living with an aeon from the Pleroma, whose name is Sophia, and the planet she morphed into is a nice name for her is Gaia. And Sophia or Sophia, the real reason for the I instead of the E sound in Sophia or Sophia is to make it more of a, to differentiate when referring to the Aeon or the planetary mother as opposed to a woman's name. And that it means wisdom. And let me tell you, when I use the word Sophia, wisdom is largely what is really kind translating. Because that is the essence for me of making contact with the planetary intelligence. So knock around our myths. Come with a myth, because it's kind of hard to knock things around unless you just want to knock around this myth, and that's also invited. This is meant to be that's why it's going to be a live stream. I want people to say what they think is up or wrong or whatever. I mean, I'm going to kind of set myself up with this person who comes from a Gnostic perspective, because a lot of the confusion I hear in people when they're trying to figure out what reality is a lot less confusing to a person, to me, who has understood the narrative from the Gnostic narrative. And Gnosticism, and for me, any of these isms that end up with having ists, they're kind of very umbrella, in my opinion, and they come more about the language, kind of like a familiar language, than actually, I don't know, kind of the grunt work that goes with certain paths. See, what else? So I kind of took that, and then I put a myth and mythos. Humans need a myth. Our myths are hologram choices. We could say that the monomyth took over the world. And of course, this world occupies most of the planet currently, and its ideology influences just about every part of the planet. So, and then the other thing is about, I don't know if I can work that in, because I'm trying to keep this short so I can upload it. So open source spirituality, that's one thing I heard recently that kind of plugged me in. It triggered me a little bit. And I guess I heard somebody saying, oh yeah, I'm a Gnostic, open source spirituality. And I'm like, huh? Really? And then you hear somebody, and you hear the kind of what I consider a lot of new age flavorings, which is part of open source. It's kind of like you sprinkle a little of this from this tradition, a little of this from this tradition, whatever. Excuse me. And all I know is the Gnostics who were annoying enough to get the name Gnostic, which was kind of like know-it-all. Oh, you guys think you know it all. It's kind of how it developed. It wasn't based on open source concepts. And then the other thing is, to me, the being creative to the point of distortion with what open source means. Open source means that how the code works is available for everybody to look at. There's no secrets. It's it's right there. If you understand code, you can understand how the whole thing works, and you can make additions to that code and build out from it. It's open. It's open for you to adjust that source code. The problem with a lot of people who are doing open source spirituality is they have no source code to be open about. And so again, there are a lot of phrases and cliches in the new agey type stuff that just kind of, it sounds like the right thing. It sounds cool. Open source spirituality, that's cool, man. You're like, you're your own person. Good way to go. Unless you don't have a source code. And that's what most people don't have a source code. When people who are still in part of the organized religions, the monotheisms, they have a source code. I have issues with that code, but they have a source code. And they have a mythos that they have accepted and lived by to navigate in their life, and it grounds them. They see the same world, and they have certain answers that come from grounding in that source code. I, as a Gnostic, ground in a different source code, but a lot of the things that are making a lot of people nuts have logic, reason, things I could even, not to say, oh, that's the way of Sophia. I mean, again, that's not how even the process works. How long have I gone here? Go on, how much? Okay, not too bad. So that's one of the things I want to poke at a little bit, because it's interesting. I mean, the monotheist had no fiercer detractor. I mean, the Gnostics were an enemy to no one, an enemy to bullshit. But the older traditional societies didn't get into, because you believe something, that maybe I should kill you and be zealous for the Lord. No, it doesn't. That's not how the Gnostic thing worked. And so even though, from a cosmological perspective, and also who certain of their pantheon is in the Gnostic pantheon, it's a setup for a WWE match for sure. But I honor the fact that they're plugged into something. They understand the need to have a mythos that you derive your source from, your own source code. And once you understand your source code, then you can be creative. So I think I'll leave it there. I will be doing my first live stream, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, this coming up Monday, the 27th. And then after that, because we're also coordinating, we're creating this little kind of coordinated channel of live streaming where no live stream is ever operating while another one is. And we're going to create a feed for that. One of the people who's part of this is going to create a website. We're going to come up with a name. We've asked for, during live streams, we've asked for input. I haven't really got much, but we're going to continue that. But ultimately, within the next week or so, when we have a name, we'll get a domain. And it'll just list what the programmings are. But when I end my live stream around 10 o'clock, I plan to go no more than 2 hours. I mean, hopefully somebody will be there. But when I end that, I will then be heading Groovy Bean Dark Brew, who does live streams at 10 o'clock Eastern Time on Monday nights. For her, out in the Pacific, it's 3 hours earlier. And so I would be I'd be closing down my live stream, go over there. I happen to be a moderator on that live chat. Moderators don't have a lot of work to do in this nice little community for the most part. It's not a lot of turd flinging going on. It's, good joking, humor and stuff like that. And anyway, so that's what I'll do. I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to roll over, and that's going to be one of probably the only night we have in our schedule where we're actually going to, starting at 8, next one at 10, and then going over. And of course, I can't imagine it'll be certain people who might actually find the Gnostic stuff interesting might go, oh, you guys are going to do that? No, I've seen that. But if you check it in, everything's tying together. Everything we're doing has a way for in helping us remember, reclaiming who we are on this earth, and all that good stuff. So anyway, that's it from me for now. And if I don't make another video, and it's very possible until I do my live stream on Monday, I will see who's there then. I I will be doing it through OBS Studio, so I don't know whether or not notifications go out. And also, I don't know if you probably all know that if you haven't like pressed that little bell next to subscribe, or and then two little things go on it, like it looks like it's ringing then, about notifications. Because this way here when I go live, I think still, because I'm using YouTube, it'll notify my subscribers. And anyway, so I look forward to the interaction. Most likely we'll see you then. And so take care of yourself, stay sane, or at least half sane. Work that heart muscle and the love that goes with it as much as you can. And I'll see you next time.